Hello, Internet. Welcome to Two and a Half Brains. This is our amazing race coverage, Amazing Race Season 34, Episode 6. Break it all down, talk all about it. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. You can like our Facebook page, Paper Productions on Facebook. You can email the show directly to paperproductions@gmail.com. Subscribe, share the post, tell your friends, and spread the word. This is the Episode 6 recap. We're going to talk all about it. We have Jessica here to talk about it. Are you ready?
I think so, but what is the word? I thought the bird is the word.
It is the word.
Bird.
Exactly the word. That's exactly the word.
Okay.
Surfing bird.
Exactly.
So, you can kind of lead the charge on this one.
Lead the charge.
Yes, charge.
Yeah, score. Exactly. Leading the charge.
Exactly.
Charging buffaloes.
Exactly.
Bisons. Anyways, amazing race.
Amazing race. What are your initial thoughts?
It was hot.
It was hot. So, obviously, we talk about the initial thoughts, talk about the detour and the roadblock, talk about who did not, who got eliminated. Something different this week. And then our power rankings.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
What are your initial thoughts overall of the episode?
Initial thoughts. It was an interesting episode. Interesting things that they had to do. I don't think every team was picking to their strengths.
Correct.
However, it was good.
For sure. They were in where?
Amman Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan second leg in a row. The final leg in Amman Jordan.
2 legs.
Yep.
Unlike on the other show.
And
we
like
watched.
Noel.
Anyways.
Yeah. Hey, there was the guy in the Amazing Race had one leg and he made fun of himself the whole time. So.
That's good.
Yeah, he had a tattoo on his left leg or whatever one he had. That pointed to the other one, said I was stupid.
That's funny.
Yeah, that pointed to the prosthetics, said I was stupid. He lost in the military, so
Wow.
yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah.
So I guess he should have won. But anyways, so off topic. So this is the second leg in Jordan. This one was in Amman, Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think?
It was good.
Nice.
Yeah, it was an interesting area. I mean, definitely kept pointing out how busy it was there, and usually with different countries that we've seen, like India too, and everything, it's just very busy. A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, and the last couple seasons haven't been that busy because of COVID, right? Mm-hmm. But now it seems like it's starting to get busier again, and you're starting to see the cities actually look like they're not ghost towns. You know?
Right.
What else?
I think that's it for my initial thoughts.
Cool.
Do you have any initial thoughts?
That was it for me. What's
right.
next?
Next is Detour, Step by Step, which was one of my favorite shows as a child.
Yeah.
Or
Day
Letter by Letter. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Step by Step. Don't get me started. Anyways.
Step by Step or Letter by Letter, right?
Yep. Step by Step was learning I think they said it was like a wedding dance in their culture. And basically learning the dance, performing it correctly, getting your clue to the roadblock. Letter by Letter was learning the alphabet of Arabic and having to recite it back as they pointed to the letter and basically identifying what the letter is, reciting it back on point correctly.
For sure. Exactly. And so detour decision. Which one was the easier one, you think?
Well, probably, I don't know. I think Letter by Letter. Only if you're good at memorizing things. Of course, I would have had Derek's issue. I can't control my R's.
Sure.
I can pretend and kind of make it sound that way, but if they were really being specific, I don't know if I would have gotten through it. Step by Step, I mean, there's so many dancers on this one that is the obvious choice for them, or like the cheerleaders too, the obvious choice for them to do because they're good at choreography and learning that stuff. But you have to have rhythm. So Letter by Letter probably would be the easier one to do.
Yeah, I agree. And I said it was definitely the brothers figured out a little hack for it though, didn't they?
Well, yeah, they split it up, which it didn't say they both had to do all of it. So yeah, they could split it up.
That's what Derek and Claire did wrong because Derek couldn't get the one letter because he couldn't roll his R's.
Right.
Claire probably could have. So literally, if she would have just done it, and he would have just done different letters.
Right.
They'd been better off.
I mean, Molly and Emily could have did the same thing. Not that they struggled too hard, but that would have been an option for anybody, just to split it in half.
And what was their thing?
They both know Hebrew, so it was very similar to Hebrew, so it made it easier for them to learn and pronounce.
Absolutely.
Just like I said, as I learned that one, what can they not do?
Yeah, they are starting to become. I mean, they're not quite like that, but they're starting to become like Tyler and Corey from this season.
Yeah, but because they even did a dancing leg, or they did something, one of the dancing things. I think it was in Germany.
Yeah, and she said she good at putting together furniture and toys.
Well, she's the one's a single mom, so she puts together everything for her child or children, and they're both very smart, and I like them, and I hope to see more. Yeah,
my only fear is she said she's got a little bit of a leg issue, and hopefully she can heal up and get back at it, because those, like, as we're learning, when we watch football and sports, those soft tissue injuries take forever to heal, especially if you're on it all the time.
Oh yeah, if you keep moving and you're not actually resting, it's just kind of damaging more than it's healing. And I think the one's a nurse, so I'm not sure if the nurse one is injured or not, but I'm sure they know that. So
no, for sure, it's definitely not great. So she gotta get healthy with that as soon as possible. But yeah, they're doing well. Like they remind me a lot of Tyler and Corey, because Tyler and Corey, everything. Like every task I had, my cousin actually does this, and they taught me how to do it. So, or my dad owns this business that does this for professionally, and so I've been running it my whole life, so I know how to do it. It's like, what the frick? Everything, every task, the randomest tasks in the world, they know how to do. And I feel like Emily and Valerie are kind of similar.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say they're quite on that level yet, but they're pretty close.
No, but every time we get to something, they're just like, oh, I know this. Like, even with the class that they did with the bones, like, I'm a nurse, so I know all this stuff. It's like, all right.
Well,
next.
And they said both grew up in Jewish families, so. Yeah. And I remember, too, when Derek almost did the thing you hate, and thankfully he saved it.
I went the opposite direction. Well, I took Spanish a lot in school, but that doesn't mean I control my R's for this. It's like...
There you go.
Just because I took Spanish too doesn't mean that I'm gonna do well learning this. Yeah. I am good with languages, but I don't know this one.
He saved it for you. As soon as he said that, I looked at you, then he said it a different way and didn't destroy himself. So.
Well, right, yeah. Just because you took something doesn't mean, unless you have an ear for languages. I was told by our exchange student that I have an ear for languages, so I could probably learn it, but it doesn't mean I'm saying I'm a pro at it.
No.
But yes.
Anyways. And so Derek did a good job on that.
He did, yes. Okay. Yes, he turned it around.
Correct.
Didn't go step by step, but he turned it around. Turn around.
Exactly. This is Jessica's musical stylings for the week.
It really is. I like to influence with my musical words to these.
Excellent.
Yeah, something, I don't know, words, talking.
Sure.
My mouth's moving.
Just sing.
I know. I can just sing. Okay, what do you want to hear? Disney? I was singing Disney last night.
I heard this.
All right. Anyways, moving on.
So after the detour decision, what was next?
Detour decision led to roadblock. I believe it was Who's Feeling Broken Carded. Mm-hmm. Makes me think of another rhyme, but we're not going to get into that rhyme.
Oh, broken hearted?
Yes, exactly.
Only farted?
Yeah, exactly. That one. We're not going to get into it. Who's feeling broken carded? Some person on each team had to decide who wanted to basically build a wooden cart that would carry materials. I don't even know if they said exactly what, but I saw like a rug, different things, to the pit stop for Phil. So half of the cart was put together. They had to put the rest of it together and the wheels on, get a check, fill the cart, find the pit stop. However, as we saw, my team... They were first. They started pushing the cart. The wheel fell off. Okay. Started to pick it up to carry it. The whole thing fell apart. If they took shortcuts, probably wasn't as, obviously not as well. They had to basically put the cart back together on the sidewalk and then press on. A lot of other teams took more time, probably put more nails in, which was smart, and make sure everything stayed together. Longer. They did take longer, but they didn't have to stop and redo it again.
True.
Either way, though, you had to make sure it was pretty sturdy, get a check, but as we can tell, they only checked so much. They didn't check to make sure it wasn't going to fall apart, so that was up to your discretion. Everybody did take a while to do that. And actually, I want to touch base on a detour quickly.
Yeah.
As what I said earlier, not all the teams picked their strengths. Glenda and Lumba did the step-by-step, which I don't think that is their strength, and they probably should have did letter by letter. We can talk more about that later. But that led them being last to the roadblock and then leaving last from the roadblock.
For sure. And also, I think it was your team and my team. It was David and Aubrey and Luis and Michelle found the.
No, it was Luis and Michelle with the cheerleaders.
Was it? Okay. I don't remember because I thought those were working together. Maybe not.
No, yeah, Aubrey and David weren't working together with them.
Okay.
Or it was either Derek and Claire and Team Miami, I think, is the ones that were there together. It was either Derek and Claire or cheerleaders with Team Miami.
Okay.
Team Miami, yeah.
Yeah, then they found the pit stop
Right.
before they got to the detour.
Right, which
Or
Phil
the
wasn't
roadblock.
even there either.
Right.
So I was just like, that must have been really early for him not to be there. So, yeah.
Because they don't show Phil traveling. Because Phil's like, you know what Phil is? Phil is like that that's a video, whatever, of Michael Myers. Like when the
When
camera's
you
off.
turn around, yeah, and he starts running, and then when the camera shows him, he's walking, then the camera turns around, he
He's
starts sprinting.
and jumping over a fence.
I love that video.
Yeah, that's Phil.
That's funny.
Phil's always there when you see him, and then he camera's off. He's like,
Exactly.
like flies. Like he literally can fly.
Exactly.
So that's quite funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Anyways,
Yes. So yes, broken carded. Most of the teams did well. Some of the teams took a lot longer to do, which led people to leave at times I was surprised. So like, who was there first? Team Miami was there first. Second was
those are the brothers, right?
the brothers, and then it was Molly and Emily. But Molly and Emily and Michael and Marcus left 5 and 6, which is shocking that they left so late. But I don't know which twin. I'm sorry. I can't tell them apart. I don't know who. Wait, no. Emily put the cart together because didn't they say, I hope it's not Molly, because they know how well Molly did with the Ducati?
Yeah,
I
they should
think.
just close their eyes and it'll go together.
Right. So they're like, oh, I hope she's not doing it. She wasn't. She was the one that had injured her leg, so she stayed out of it because she didn't think she could be able to push the cart.
Which didn't really make a difference.
Right, because they do it together.
Yeah.
But anyways, you know, the twin whose strength it was to put stuff together is not the one that did it, but they did a good job because theirs at least didn't fall apart when they started to go.
Yeah, it was interesting because it seemed like the teams who kind of just put it together and didn't really put much effort into it got out earlier, and then they tried to kind of manage getting it there together, whereas the teams who made a really good cart took a lot longer and were last.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Right.
The craftsmanship was not graded on a curve.
Right. And we'll talk about shortly why that kind of doesn't matter, but yeah, no, it was kind of crazy. I was a little shocked to see what time what placement they had left, but you know, we'll talk more about that in a bit.
Yeah. Speaking of shocked.
Yeah, shocked. So, I don't know if we should call this who got eliminated or we should call this like
F COVID.
who was not allowed back, basically.
I'm so angry.
So everybody that watched the episode tonight saw in the beginning, Phil, was there at the start of the race. Someone
Except
said,
one team, yeah.
What's that?
Except for one team.
Well, right. Well, I forgot who said it. I think it was Aubrey or somebody said how it's never a good thing if you see Jeff. Oh my gosh, Phil. What the heck? In the beginning of a race, that means something bad's going on.
Yeah, at the beginning of a leg, and they're all over there, and they're all starting at the same time, which I haven't done yet this season.
Right. So Phil came out to announce to everybody that a team would not be joining, and they brought Abby and Will on via Zoom because they had COVID, and since they had a positive COVID test, they weren't allowed to come and continue the race, which forced them to become eliminated. So they were not eliminated of their own accord. They were eliminated because of a positive COVID test, which I don't think that's a fair thing to do. Like, I think there needed to be some sort of thing written in if someone is diagnosed with COVID, because they're also in contact with everybody else, technically. So, like, I think it should just pause for a week. I know that's not good for production and money and stuff like that, but I don't know. I'm sure they all signed disclosures, though, in the beginning.
Oh, of course they did.
Obviously,
they signed 100 pages of disclosure.
Right, with a new COVID disclosure. If you get diagnosed with COVID, that you're eliminated, which sucks. It's not anything that they did, but I guess in this world right now, that's kind of the breaks for this show.
It sucks so bad.
It's not. Yeah, I'm
I
not
like
happy
that
with it.
team, obviously, and if I didn't like the team, maybe I wouldn't care as much. But I like that team a lot.
I know
They were
you
doing
wouldn't care
decently
as
well.
much if you didn't like them, but yeah.
But it just sucks. Like even the teams I didn't care about much last season, they got screwed.
Yeah.
That like even the teams I didn't care, whatever, they weren't that doing that well anyways. It's still annoying. And there's two things I want to say about this. One, the COVID thing, it's something we've dealt with. It is what it is. I don't want to go into it. I think it's stupid. But again, this was filmed more in the heart of COVID, so I understand. Now it's kind of like, now you're kind of looking back like, why are we even still testing for it?
Right.
But I get it. That was more in the heart of it, everything like that. But again, they're around producers. They're around the other teams, everything like that. And we don't know, did one test positive? Did both test positive? Can one just like sit out and the other one goes and does it? Like it happened before where I think it was Mark and Bopper on their second season. One of them had, I think Mark had or Bopper, one of them, Bopper, had yeah, they're from Kentucky.
Just continue.
they had like a medical condition before the race started, and they didn't have anybody else. They had to bring in somebody else they brought in Mallory from another season because they're both from Kentucky to race together. And like, do that. Give them have one person go if they both have COVID because they're a couple, so they probably both have it. But like,
it's because they're in contact. They sleep in the same room. All of that
yeah,
stuff, so
like,
that's why.
Right, but I mean, give me something else. Right. Have a contingency plan. I know you can't stop production, blah, 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 and it sucks. It is what it is, but then what happens if, in online now you're two, three more teams get it because they're all in contact.
Right.
Because they work together on a task. Now they all have it. Like, it's if you weren't going to be able to do it without having to remove people from COVID, you shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I mean, they did it the season before, though. I know it started before COVID and then continued during it. But, it is what it is. I'm hoping that the next season doesn't really have this too much involvement with it because, as we've seen, things have turned. There's no testing, really, or masking or anything like that. I mean, part of me is pretty surprised to see that people aren't wearing masks over there. Like, most countries, like, people aren't wearing masks. So,
it's interesting, yeah.
It also brings to question what you saw in the media, but we're not going to get into that because that's a topic for your other show. But
and listen, all the players are, like, wearing the KN95s while they're, like, running around and they're in the cars and they're interacting with people. Some of them.
Not even all of them.
Some players are, not all of them. But listen, I didn't even really think about that. Almost nobody in this country is wearing them.
No.
Like even the people they talk to, hey, can I get directions? People who are just in the background walking around.
Exactly.
The non-playable characters,
Yeah.
They're all none of them wearing masks.
No.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I did. I've been noticing it, except for the taxi drivers, which if you're in with people in a car, like, yeah, I get that, but like nobody's wearing them.
They
not
really
even
have
in restaurants, not in any of the markets.
Yeah. No, the judges or anything like that either. It's really interesting.
Right.
It's really interesting.
Teachers, none of that. So, anyways, that was something I had noticed and just kind of mentioning that.
Yeah.
But they got eliminated, not because they did anything wrong. They had to. They had COVID. I think they would have did pretty well if they lasted. I don't think they would have won, but I think they would have lasted a long time, and I did enjoy their chemistry, and I hope that they can come back at some point.
For sure. So there's one other thing I want to mention. Obviously, the fact that they had eliminated them, they weren't going to eliminate another team because they're already behind on teams because they have 9 teams to go and 10 episodes, whatever. Right. So they weren't going to eliminate another team, so they had an actual non-elimination leg, and as the punishment for finishing last, you're the only team to leave at that time.
Right. They're leaving in groups. So
two, and then 1.
Right. That's why I said, like I said before, it doesn't exactly matter if they were last at the cart making because everybody's staying on. But it just matters at what time you're leaving, and the last team leaves 45 minutes after the first team. Right.
So it's 2, 2, and 1. So if you get there last team to check in, you're gonna leave last and be behind.
Right.
So that's a problem.
So that's why the groupings to me is very odd because the twins and the brothers are in the third group, which that is so baffling.
Yeah.
Because they should be in the first group, but things got behind.
Claire and Derek and Quentin and Maddie are the second group, and then Aubrey and David and Luis and Michelle are the first group.
Derek and Claire and Quentin and Maddie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mixed the names
No, I
all
did.
jumbled.
Yeah,
So
I just said one player from each team rather than
yeah.
the team.
And then Team Miami and then Aubrey and David are the
Yep.
first, which is the oddest thing
Yeah,
we have
certainly
seen
weird.
yet.
I do want to say one other thing about the elimination thing. Can we do a season, maybe next season, of the
COVID
screwed
people?
by COVID teams?
Right. Yeah.
And and obviously my winner pick, we had to leave because they're pregnant, right? The other two guys who couldn't come back, the two husbands who got married, right? And the couple broke up, so fine, forget them.
Yeah.
The couple broke up, forget them. They don't get to come back because whatever. But and then or which they've done before, they are
both back
with other people. That's happened before too, right? And then this team, and then whatever. And then find there's other teams from other seasons that had something go wrong that was kind of out of their control. Bring them, whatever. But give me something. Give these teams another chance. They deserve it. I said it last season. I said I want to see those teams who got knocked out, who didn't come back. The four that didn't come back, I want to see them come back. I want them to get a fair shot.
In addition to that, let's sprinkle in the Buffalo Cops again too and give them a third chance. Why not? Let's see if they can make it past the first week again.
If they don't, though, what would you do?
Oh, I'd laugh and laugh, and
cry.
I love them, and I'd probably cry.
And I said, if even you do that, and then you do three, or you have those 5 teams, and you have 3 new teams or 5 new teams, whatever, something else, just whatever you have to do. But I want to see those teams get a fair shot, even if they have to come back, with new teams or with, all-star teams who did really well in the past. Give me something, but give those teams a shot. I think they deserve it. But that's all I say on that.
Give peace a chance.
Sure.
Trying to think of a song. I think there's a song, but I can't think of it right now.
That's fine.
It
doesn't matter.
So let's turn around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's do you want to do the power rankings then? Is that what's up?
Sure.
So unfortunately,
got the power.
Exactly. See, we don't need sound drops. We do have Jessica. Jessica's our soundboard. I feel so bad for Abby and Will though. Like they were a good couple. I want to see more from them, and it sucks because they. I was thinking about it kind of in the middle of the Survivor. I said, Jessica, one of the teams who are in this season, in this episode, are going to be eliminated for COVID. Like I figured that's kind of what Phil was saying. They're kind of going that way, and it's like if the team had. I don't think they had a shot to win. But can you imagine if it was the team who we felt like was going to win? Like, can you imagine?
Yeah, no, I'd be pretty disappointed.
Really bad.
Yeah, really bad. Oh, my eyeball. Anywho, let's move on to the next section because we could talk about probably Will and Abby for a while. I know. So next, as I was saying, I got the power rankings here. So there's a little bit of movement this week, obviously taking into account how my team won back-to-back legs. So we will start with our power rankings team number 7, the cheerleaders, Quinton and Maddie. Well, they're doing well. I think they're doing kind of better and better each week-ish, but I don't know if they have the oomph to take it all.
Yeah, they did really well this week. They finished 3rd. They've done some good stuff. They've done some stuff that wasn't so good. But I said I feel like they did really well this week. I just if you ask me who can you see winning, and putting them in order, I think they had the worst of the teams left to win, and I don't think they're even going to go next necessarily. I don't necessarily think they're going to go next, but I think they have the lowest ceiling left. I guess we can say.
Yeah.
Like I can see pretty much any team left winning except for maybe one other team, which I'll get to. But I just don't see them winning, and so they've done okay. I just don't see them having any chance to win.
Yeah, I feel like we can be surprised by anybody, but
it's been a very surprising season, no doubt about it. The teams I didn't expect to do really well are doing really well. Teams I expected to go farther didn't go far. So
right, yeah. So I think we can move on to our next team, number 6.
Mm-hmm.
So Glenda and Lumba are now team number 6. They have definitely dropped in our power rankings just because of, falling to last place this week, and then they were last place a couple weeks ago on the Mega Leg. I said I don't think they picked their strengths this week. I think they really need to look at the whole picture, I think, of things. I mean, maybe this was their strength. It's just between the two, this is the one they thought they could do better at.
I agree with you completely, and that's what we were saying before. I definitely think they aren't picking towards their strength, which is true, and I think part of the problem is you notice another time this week too. They did it even the Mega Leg. Why they get so far behind the Mega Leg? They start running one direction, and it's like, oh, is it the right direction? I don't know. Let's just run and figure out.
Right.
And it's like, well, no. Take 5 minutes, think about what you're doing, and then instead of running really fast right in the wrong direction, you can run a little bit slower in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right. And they said they just kind of said, oh, we have to pick a task. Let's do this one. So we'll take a second and think about it. And maybe if they would have thought about it, they still would have come to the same conclusion. But I feel like they're rushing.
Right.
And that's it. They're not helping themselves.
That's funny. They didn't look rushing to me.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Yep. Lumbabov and Glendabov over here.
If anybody's seen the movie Spaceballs, a great movie. Watched this recently, so that's why it came to mind.
Yes. Well, I think they're a strong team when they take their time and make good decisions because they've made. I think there's a lot of tasks they can do well. I think they have a good skill set. I think they're a good team. They just have to think and make good decisions.
Yeah, I mean, even things are tough. They really don't fight or get in arguments. They're very encouraging and, just keep the course and keep going.
For sure.
Yeah. Alrighty, moving on to the next team. Team number 5, your winner picks Aubrey and David.
Mm-hmm.
They lucked out with having another dancing leg. Detour.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they picked that one. Took them, I think, 2 tries to get that one right and move on. As we said, they finished second also this week, so they're doing better. I still don't know if I can see them actually winning it, but I see some improvement with them too.
So Jessica, I said I have 2 teams I don't see having much of a shot to win.
Yes.
This is the second team.
Yeah.
They did really well this week because they had a dancing task and they dance for a living.
Yeah.
And the other task was a building and he's a mechanic.
Right.
So the 2 things that they both do professionally were the tasks this week. So they did well. Like that's for me, that's the mark of a team. Mm-hmm. Is if they have tasks that are way out of their comfort zone that they do real well with, because everybody does well in teams and the tasks are in their comfort zone.
Right.
So I don't really give them much credit for finishing second because even though I like them, they're both very likable, and I want them to do well. Doing really well on a task that's up your alley, unless everything's up your alley, which some teams are. But if you really well on tasks up your alley, I'm not giving you a ton of credit for it because it's something you should do well with.
Right.
Right. If it was something that was completely out of it was sumo wrestling, and they do really well, then I'm like, okay, great, then you're a good team. But if you do really well on something that you're supposed to do really well on, I'm not giving you as much credit for it.
So you give them more credit if they decide to do the language instead of the dancing?
I would.
Yeah.
But that would also mean they're not making good decisions. So
exactly.
So it's like,
So it's a double-edged sword for them, for your judgment.
And they had to dance with the sword.
They did have to dance with the sword. Oh, man.
You're tired.
I can't.
But the thing is, too, though, this leg wasn't going to help. Like, this leg wasn't going to do anything for them because if they were, no matter what they did, this leg, they weren't going to really advance. But if next week they go out and they do it again, they have to do, picking up things and throwing them, and they do really well with that, then I'll give them a little more credit.
Right.
But having one good leg, like Noelle, on having one good leg like Noelle in Survivor, or the guy in this show, a couple seasons ago, doing well on one leg doesn't make you, a good team. Doing well on multiple makes you a good team.
Gotta be able to do good on the bad legs.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The ones that aren't, designed for you.
Oh, yes.
So that's all.
Yeah.
That's why they're 5th for me.
All right. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with your thoughts on that. Moving on to the next.
Yep.
Number 4, Derek and Claire. Mm-hmm. So I think we had them move, spot this time. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think they're doing bad. I think it's funny how Claire decided to put the cart together. She has to redeem herself. Would she say she builds... It's computer software, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't actually build things, but she was covered in oil, which nobody knows where the oil came from this whole thing.
She was like a coal miner. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. She took her time. They made it their 4th. to the pit stop.
Right behind the third team.
Yeah, so I don't think they're struggling at all. I think they're definitely par for the course with like a lot of the other teams. I could probably see them winning, maybe, but they're not doing too bad.
The casting season has been so good though, because like there's no like every lots of times there's teams who have no shot, and there's 3 or 4 teams who have a good shot, and this season there's like six teams I can see winning, 5 teams I can see winning, and it's none of them would surprise me.
Right.
Not at all.
Right.
And for them, I can see them winning. I can see them going out, next. It really could go either way, but I wouldn't say they have the best odds of winning. I'd say they have the best odds of finishing in the top 3.
Yeah.
Like I'd say, some because the teams I think there's a team who could win, who could also get knocked out next.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they have the best odds of going the furthest of all the teams left, but not necessarily the best odds of winning of all the teams left. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
And they have to make good decisions. Obviously, who does the tasks really. I mean, obviously Derek's been doing really well on some things. Claire's been doing okay on other things, but I think if they can again pair the right person with the right task, I think they'll do better off. I think Claire has been doing a lot of like the manual labor type tasks, which is definitely not her strong suit.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can find something that's going to fit her better. I think Derek is a little bit more physically fit or stronger, so maybe have him do more of those tasks. But I don't know. I think they both are similar skill sets too, which is also maybe not a good thing.
I think so. I think she's just on a revenge tour of anything that needs to be put together, so she's just on it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right.
What's next?
Moving on, team number 3, which has been bumped up a little bit significantly, is my team Miami.
Yep.
They finished first again this week. Like I said, back-to-back legs, they have won. So it's exciting. You're seeing their improvement, even though their cart basically fell apart as soon as they tried to go anywhere. They managed to put that together, get to the pit stop first, and win it. I don't see any, no bickering between them or really any team at this point. They get along well, and they've also picked to their strong suits. Since she's a dancer, they did the dancing task, even though I know you said that doesn't give them any merit. He's a firefighter, and he was able to get through
and that's
it.
why, though. Because the other team, they're both dancers, where he's not a dancer, he's doing it, quick.
Right. So. She's the dancer, he's not, and he still manages to get through it and everything. And they're funny to watch. It's funny to see him, how his mannerisms are, because as soon as they messed up, he's like, all right, guys, all right, enough. I got this. We'll be back.
Yep.
But,
For sure.
No, I'm liking them more. When I picked them, when we picked our teams, basically not really seeing too much from any of them or who they are. The teams are growing on me, and I don't, like you said, dislike any of the teams.
Yeah.
Really that's here right now. I could see anybody making it to the end. I can't say I can see anybody winning, but I could probably see Team Miami making it to the end, possibly.
I think they win, too. I mean, they said they won 2 legs. It's that if they win this next leg, I'm going to have to say they're going to be first in the power rankings.
Right.
And it just simply because there's nobody who's, just head and shoulders better than everybody. There's been those teams before who even if they finish second last, okay, they're gonna win. Doesn't matter.
Right.
And or they're gonna do well. Doesn't matter. There's really nobody who's that good this season.
Like the guys last year, Ryan and
yeah,
I don't remember the names. Yeah. Ryan and his partner.
Friend.
Yeah. Well. Whatever.
Yeah. But I know what you mean. Yeah. Partner.
I know. I can't say it. Yes.
But yeah, no.
Teammate.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and same thing. There was the Holderness that I always thought we were gonna do well. Either way, but there's really no team who's oh my gosh, they're definitely winning.
No. And this is the first week there has been a back to back, and I think they're the first team that have won 2 legs.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. We'll definitely see. I feel a lot better than I did. Them early on. I said if they win this next leg of the race, I think they're gonna have to be first.
I think so. I agree with that.
Okay, what's next?
Next team, number 2. Molly and Emily. So they did fall to 6th place in the completion of this leg, but I still think they can do well. I still think their skill sets are above everybody else, as they have basically done all of it. They've done the dancing, they did languages, they did the classroom stuff, and building nobody's business. So I think they are very well rounded, but with the injury to one of the twins, that might be the only thing that hinders them.
Yeah, and the one thing I would say that was different, they haven't recently started all at the same time.
Yeah.
And this leg they did, which was interesting because the teams who won last time also won this time, which gives them more credit because they didn't start first and finished first. They started with everybody else and still finished first.
Right.
That being said, this week, I think it's about 15-minute increments when they leave. And, yeah, it's 15. So it's start, then 15 after, 15 after, 15 after, yeah. So that they're going to be leaving half hour before the first team.
After the first team.
Right, half hour after the first team.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be harder for them to catch up because they have to make up that time difference, which they used to do all the time anyways, but they would also sometimes have, like, back before the COVID stuff would happen, they would have, the teams kind of start 12 hours after they left, whatever, blah, 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 or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the tasks, they'd all leave at those staggered times, and then they get to the same place and they have to wait for it to open at 8 o'clock.
Right.
So they all get there at the same time. They all start at the same time.
Right.
They haven't really done that. So they try and keep them a little bit separated, which is hard. If you're behind, it's hard to catch up.
Right.
So that's the only thing I'll say with Marcus and Michael and Molly and Emily is they are starting behind, and with the staggered start times, it is harder to catch up. So they're really not sure what good teams they are. I think they are good teams. I think they'll be okay, but they're starting behind, which is it could be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all going to depend on what their tasks are, what the detour or roadblocks, whatever they're going to be doing. It's going to depend on that because the next stuff could be something that the teams ahead of them aren't strong at. So anything can slow people down. As we say in Survivor, the puzzles are the equalizer. So
Absolutely.
Anything could happen that can make it an equalizer to get them time to catch up, or anybody could get lost, especially if they're not driving themselves. Mm-hmm. We don't know how it's going to be yet, so anything could happen.
Yep, anything could happen. Obviously, I think they're all going to leave. They're all going to France, mm-hmm. so they probably will all arrive on the same time. They'll probably take one flight, whatever. So I think they're probably all going to starting off the same spot anyways.
They'll just do it like they did before, where they show each team 15 minutes later, and then,
Yeah, so I think they'll probably still end up leaving around the same time and everything, too. So we'll see. I think they'll be okay, though. And I think they're a pretty strong team, so I think they'll overcome.
I do, too. I don't want them to leave. They need to make it to the final three. I'm not done with their story yet.
Oh, for sure. Yes. I agree. And it's one of those things where if they leave at around the same time, they'll make up. I think they'll be okay either way. But again, we'll see what happens.
We shall see.
Yep.
All right, moving on to team number 1 of the week. We continue to have Marcus and Michael in the spot, the brothers, military brothers. I think depending on what happens this next week, they could possibly drop down a little bit. I don't really think they're struggling much with anything, but I guess taking their time, they've kind of slipped in just, I guess, speed of everything. Marcus was,
Mm-hmm.
right, was really taking his time with putting the cart together, which, like I said before, it might be the smarter idea because it doesn't fall apart. But I guess really with that task, you just needed to do it enough that it wasn't going to completely destroy itself as you got it there.
And Michael's really struggling with the words.
Michael, was really struggling with the words. That's true, too.
Yeah, so and they finished 5th.
Yeah.
Again, it's the first time they finished out of the top 3, so they're still number 1 for me because their placement rating is the highest of anybody. Yeah. They finished closest to first, even though they only had one first place finish. Mm-hmm. They finished closer to first than closer to last on every
multiple
task.
Times, yeah.
Yeah, they're way closer to first than they were to last. So
right.
I think they're still the best team, but again, I can see them falling apart. I can see anything happening. And if they do get knocked out, in the next week or two, it's going to leave it pretty much wide open.
Yeah. So. Also with them, I was just thinking how it was interesting how most of the teams all kind of paired up to find the detours. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Marcus and Michael and the twins ended up kind of working together to find the bookstore, to find the
first clue to get to the detour. Yeah.
Right. So I just thought of that. It's just funny how everybody started kind of pairing up a bit and how those two paired up, I think because they were just right next to each other. Not that they really wanted to, but everybody was kind of following each other until a certain point.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, and like you said too about the great equalizer being, the task or the puzzle, whatever. Mm-hmm. Also, again, there has been any team who's really made, obviously Louis said that today that it was a classic Amazing Race mistake, just running without looking, but it's the more of a classic mistake is not reading a clue.
Right.
More classic mistake is bickering. More classic mistake is making bad decisions on which tasks you do. So if a team, there hasn't really been anybody really doing a ton of that this season, which is nice. They seem to be reading their clues and taking their time and that kind of thing. So, but that is a great equalizer too. If a team just doesn't pay attention, they just can run really really fast in one direction, they could get lost, and then they're screwed up and behind. And again, a taxi cab driver can screw up. There's plenty of things that can screw you up. It's just a matter of
traffic, accident,
right.
A flat tire.
Right. It looks like something that might happen next week,
Yeah.
which we'll see. But that again, the teams who do the best job of controlling things they can control usually win.
Right.
Your communication with your partner, that kind of thing. If you don't,
calm, cool, and collected.
right. If you don't, and cute apparently, was what Quentin said. Calm, cool, collected, and cute.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it's that if you're gonna have obstacles. The teams who do the best job overcoming them and minimize the stupid mistakes, right? You're gonna have things go wrong, but as long as you control the things you can control, and then adjust the things you can't, those are the teams who do the best, right? For sure.
Yep. Agreed.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
The good news is every week this theory should be getting shorter, which they are, because there's one less team to talk about, one less team to power rank, and everything like that. So we'll see.
It depends what happens. Let's be honest.
Sure. But it's better about on pace with the rest of the shows. So cool. Anything else to add?
No.
Thank you for taking the lead on this. You've been doing a really good job.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm very good at speaking and such when I have sleep, that is.
Yeah, well, let's give you some sleep. Thanks for
sleep
till Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So other than that, at least the animals behave for the most part. Selena play their ball a little bit, being a little bit of a pain in the butt. But other than that, the animals have been pretty well behaved for this show, unlike last week.
Yeah.
But thanks everybody for being a part of it. Thanks for listening, commenting, sharing the post. Be sure to subscribe. Tell your friends. Be sure to subscribe to us. Anything if you like our Facebook page, Paper Production on Facebook. You can email the show directly, paperproductions@gmail.com. Get your comments on the show. We had a comment last week, right when we, pretty much one of the first hour or couple hours we posted it. We had a comment, and really appreciated the feedback. They had some great advice and good information. So definitely keep doing that. Keep the thoughts and the comments coming. And anything else, Jessica?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Well, thanks for listening. Until next time, safe travels.